In November 2007, Americans were treated to a new shopping experience. Fresh and easy neighbourhood markets, the brainchild of the UK's biggest retailer, Tesco, opened their first 6 stores in Los Angeles and Orange County, California. Meanwhile, and entirely coincidentally, back in the UK, Professor Michelle Lowe was at the beginning of a research fellowship with the Advanced Institute of Management, AIM, to study retail innovation, and the Tesco venture seemed the ideal opportunity.
I got involved with the research project, the ESRC funded project, in the autumn of 2007. Fresh and Easy opened in the autumn of 2007, but it wasn't until the summer of 2008 that I had the opportunity to go out to California to both observe the stores and also to talk to people in the head office of Fresh and Easy in Los Angeles. I have been given complete licence to investigate the firm in whatever way I wish to do. The firm haven't made any attempt to edit any of the academic papers that I've produced from the research. And in fact, it's just as a business school professor a great opportunity to be given the ability to enter such a big PLC and really kind of poke around and see what's going on.
This is the story of the British professor who studied the innovations of the UK's largest retailer as it entered the world's biggest market. A basic geographical fact about the United States is that it's very, very big. Wide open spaces and a willingness to drive long distances meant that Americans were used to the gigantic Walmart style of supermarket. But something led the Tesco team to think that US consumers were ready for something different.
One of the things that the firm were concerned with was the way in which the zeitgeist in the United States, slightly probably behind what's going on in the UK, but was changing. It was changing in relation to things like attitudes to neighbourhood, local shopping, attitudes to preservatives and additives in food, attitudes to global warming and the use of gas, etc. And as a result, the firm was very keen to develop a neighbourhood format.
In the context of existing US retailers, that new format was positioned to be as fresh as Whole Foods, with the value of Walmart, the convenience of Walgreens, and the product range of Trader Joe's.
We've been looking in America for a long time and had never seen a reason to go there. But what we noticed across the world was the growth of sort of smaller stores, quality but discount retailing. We were seeing it in a lot of markets. And we noticed that wasn't happening in the States. So what we decided to do was to go and find out whether that was because it just hadn't been spotted yet. There was something inherent in the retail structure there which meant that it hadn't happened. Or whether or not actually maybe it just wasn't relevant to the way people lived their lives in the States. So we created a very small team and out we went to find out the answer to that question.
Having decided on an entry to the West Coast markets, they were very keen to deliver a supermarket that was designed for West Coast consumers. And as a result, they did a very intensive research with consumers, following them around while they did their shopping, looking at them as they did their cooking, talking to them in their homes, looking in their cupboards, examining what was in their fridges, talking to them about food storage, about provision from supermarkets and how they operated on a day-to-day basis in terms of their daily or weekly shops. And it was from that intensive research that the Fresh and Easy concept was born.
So we designed a store. We literally, on a piece of paper, designed a store and said, well, it will have to be, it'll sell food that will be that bit better, that bit healthier, that bit less processed. And also we'll sell it at prices below what a normal supermarket would sell at, significantly below. So we designed a store that could do that, and indeed a business operating model behind it that could do that, if we chose to. And then we said, okay, that's good then. So here we've got a store, and it's in your locality. It's, I think we designed it 10,000 square feet, so it was small. It was in your locality. And from it, you can get healthier food, or food that's a bit healthier. It will save you money as well. And also, there'll be the sort of key national brands in there, which means you can pretty well get most of your shopping there.
Because of the sensitive nature of what the Tesco team was up to, the research had to be kept secret. So everything was paid for in cash. No traceable credit cards, and when it came to devising and testing out a store concept, it all got a bit surreal. A mock store was built in a warehouse in Los Angeles. It was stocked with real produce bought at other supermarkets, with huge amounts of cash.
I remember going into one store, and there I was, my job was cheese. And we knew what cheeses we wanted and what we needed to the fixture. I remember shopping this store. Anyway, so I'm putting cheese in the carts. I ended up with 2 carts full of cheese, which I then took to the checkouts. And I thought, oh, well, this is a bit strange. And it should be interesting to see what happens. So I took it to the checkout. And I remember the checkout assistant there just looked at all the carts, then looked back up at me and said, "You got a lot of cheese." And I said, "Yeah, but you know, I'm in the entertainment business. I need something to go with wine." And, "Oh," she said, "all right." And then started to scan the products. And so got through all the 2 carts. And then when it came to pay, she said, "That will be," and it was something like, I think, $2,000 something. So I just got out a wad of money, because we didn't have any cards or anything, because, again, staying sort of incognita, and just handed over the money, and she said, "Oh, have a nice day." And off I went with my 2 carts full of cheese. And, you know, and that's how we did it.
One of the surprises of the American West for the Tesco researchers was that it seemed like a land of plenty, but the quality of fresh food in supermarkets wasn't that great.
One of the things that we wanted to provide people was chilled meals. And what was very clear again about fresh, less processed food, that it needed to have no artificial colours, no artificial flavours, no added trans fats, and only use preservatives where absolutely necessary for the safety of the product. Because that said to people that actually this was fresher, less processed foods. And when we looked around to see how we were going to provide those products, what we discovered is there was no one there who was capable of doing it.
So Tesco invited 2 trusted UK suppliers to come and join them. Wild Rocket, supplying fresh fruit and vegetables, and 2 Sisters providing meat, to Fresh and Easy's state-of-the-art campus at Riverside, California, which housed a distribution centre and the Fresh and Easy kitchen.
However, Tesco haven't just taken UK suppliers, it's not just a UK implant into the US. What they've done is they've also developed a number of very innovative partnerships, notably with local suppliers in the US.
Hi, my name is Heather. I am the coffee roaster here at Cafe Calabria, and this is our production area and roast room. We're going to head in here to the vault to check out the green coffee. From here, these beans are going straight into a tin and onto the shelves and ready to be consumed, fresh roasted coffee.
We're very excited to be working with Fresh and Easy because they're a very dynamic company and very focused on high quality wines. Richard Wary came to us from Fresh and Easy and asked us to help him develop a whole line of wines specifically focusing on California appellations.
Fresh and Easy burst onto the consciousness of the United States, or at least parts of California, Arizona and Nevada, in November 2007, in a package that was different from anything Americans had ever seen.
There's a number of unique innovations within the store, notably the fact that we've got self-service checkouts. There are self-service checkouts 100% self-serve, which particularly in a culture which is very much focused around customer service in the US, is quite a brave move. There's a thing called the kitchen table, which is an area of the store where consumers can sample products, which is seen to be quite an innovative concept. They are fairly pared down in terms of the design of the store. So they're obviously based on a fairly low operating model. They're not hugely kind of lush or very well provided in terms of the stores. They're fairly basic stores. But consumers seem to like them. Consumers like them because they see fresh products that are available in the US in many ways for the first time in such a sort of wide range, particularly the chilled ready meals, for example, and also a range of food on the go type products, sandwiches, fruit, those kinds of things, which we're used to seeing in a conventional UK supermarket, but which actually aren't widely available in the US.
Another distinctive feature of Fresh and Easy right from the start was its emphasis on digital and viral marketing.
It was very obvious, looking around, firstly, that we couldn't afford to launch a sort of massive traditional media blitz. It's an extremely expensive media market. It's also very, very fragmented. And we only had a few stores, so it made absolutely no sense. But when we looked, we said, well, actually, if you look at some of the brands that have been built in America in recent years, at the sort of end of the 20th, beginning 21st century, they're not using traditional advertising. They're being built in other ways. I mean, Starbucks being a classic example of that, or JetBlue. So we looked at it more and looked at the way that they were doing it. And what became clear was that they were using, if you like, the internet much more than we've ever been accustomed to. And it was very clear as well, living in the States, how much more the internet was just part of your daily life, you know, back in 2005 and 2006. So it seemed only natural that we'd set up with that in mind. So we set up a website before we ever opened our first store. And just to explain what Fresh and Easy was.
In 2007, this was very new. It was very novel. And what Fresh and Easy saw was the opportunity to really engage with those communities through blogging, through Twitter, through interaction with bloggers. So they were doing things, for example, in 2007 and 2008, like inviting bloggers into store launches.
All right, YouTubers. A lot of people have been asking me, Jeremy, what is so special about Fresh and Easy? I'm going to show you right now. Because I update my Twitter all the time saying how I love Fresh and Easy and why it's so good and all that kind of stuff.
Another very significant factor was where Fresh and Easy stores opened.
We've been trying to get a full-service supermarket that offers healthy foods for so long here in the city of Compton.
The first one we opened actually was Compton, which is has quite a history, if you were from the West Coast. And we opened it, certainly I think the first supermarket had been built there in a generation. There was a Food for Less discount store there, and that was it. And certainly some people, of, if you like, the Americans that we recruited to work for us thought we were a bit mad to go and open a store there. But we opened it, and what was very noticeable from day one is if you didn't know where it was from, it was doing as well as other stores. You'd never have sort of gone, oh, that's a store in a deprived area or anything like that. And, you know, today it takes about the average of what our stores in coastal California, our strongest market, take. And it's growing very strongly. And it really does prove the point that, you know, if you offer people good quality food at prices, that means they save money or don't have to pay anymore. Lo and behold, in a nice environment, look what happens.
Professor Michelle Lowe points out that it was only by opening in these underserved communities as well as prosperous neighbourhoods that Fresh and Easy had any chance of hitting their ambitious target for the number of new stores. But they do have a real commitment to becoming a good neighbour. They embed themselves in their localities and sponsor many socially worthwhile projects.
Any business that are willing to help the community, especially the schools, we really appreciate everything.
Every $20 that is spent, our school makes $1 off of every $20.
It shows that they're a part of the community, that they really want to see the community grow.
Fresh and Easy was an immediate hit with its customers, but no one foresaw the hit that was about to be taken by the American economy.
Yes, you could say our timing wasn't perfect. When we did all the research, the year we did it, America had the highest consumer confidence index it had ever achieved. Then, of course, by the time we'd built a business, procured stores, we opened at the back end of 2007, when I think technically the recession had sort of started, but still wasn't a problem really at that time. We opened quite well, and grew tremendously well during 2008, so we were feeling very confident. Then of course there was that week of the financial crisis in September, and two things happened. One, our sales overnight dropped by over 10%, literally in a week, just dropped, just like that. And the consumer confidence in the United States was shattered. It moved from what had been the highest to, by January, the lowest consumer confidence index.
I don't think the executives that had been involved in market research in the US for such a long time could have predicted that just at the moment that they were opening in those consumer markets, that those consumer markets would be some of the worst hit by the US recession. So there are examples of whole communities in places like Phoenix, places like Las Vegas, being effectively abandoned. Whole areas where Tesco might have opened new Fresh and Easy stores, where housing developments have been halted and so on. And quite clearly this has slowed the progress of the expansion of the format and brand.
Fresh and Easy reacted to the recession by increasing special offers and promotions and slowing down the rate of new store openings. Some commentators took this as a sign of defeat, but Simon Ewan says it was simply time for the new business to slow down and take stock.
We were planning to open a number of stores, have a gap reflect, see if there's anything that we needed to change, and then push the accelerator button and increase our rate of expansion. But because of what happened with the recession, we thought it was only prudent not to do that and just keep the openings running at the same level as we had been. So if you look since then, we've been opening at about one a week. But what it has meant, of course, is we haven't yet got to the scale that we originally envisaged in terms of number of stores.
One of the great successes of Fresh and Easy has been the kitchen at Riverside, California, run by Fresh and Easy but supplied by Wild Rocket and Two Sisters. In 2010, Fresh and Easy bought them both. This was reported in some places as a bailout linked to the recession, but Simon Ewan says it was a sound business move.
We were so pleased with the kitchen. I mean, it's gone remarkably well, both in terms of actually the products have done much better than we ever imagined they would do, but also we found that actually running of the kitchen has given us such a great strength because, of course, nobody else can replicate it. And it encouraged us, in truth, to move on, and now we actually own the produce business and the meat business. And, you know, if we'd known what we knew today about running the kitchen, we probably would have set those up ourselves right from the start. But they form a very great source of competitive advantage for us because we can literally produce things that no one else can in this marketplace.
So has Fresh and Easy been a success? It's certainly popular with its customers.
I think everything is great in the store. That's why I come here.
I've been waiting a long time for you guys to open. It was excellent. I love Fresh and Easy.
I would say that Fresh and Easy have been incredibly successful in terms of judging the market for a new brand, in terms of researching the market, and in terms of engaging with consumers. At the present time, it's taking a while for the numbers of consumers to build, and the like-for-like sales, whilst being very good, could grow more than they have done, and no doubt will grow more than they have done.
Well, I think it's a tremendous success from a customer response point of view. I mean, we are still today getting customer scores that no other retailer gets in the US. So in terms of creating value for customers, it clearly has worked really well. I think if I was being honest looking at it, it's kind of probably was overhyped a bit, but is now being underestimated.
Quite often as an academic you research things that are already up and running. You go into a firm when it's halfway through its life cycle or something like that. But actually in this case, I was able to go in right from the very start and have been able to talk to people right from the conception of the whole format through to the present day, and that's just been brilliant.
For an independent view, we turn to Professor John Besant, Director of Research and Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of Exeter Business School.
From the academic side, I think it's extremely interesting methodologically because it's, as I mentioned before, a longitudinal study and we don't have many of those. I think she's done a great job of negotiating seriously good access with some very senior players who might normally be a little suspicious of academics. So she's done a good job there and therefore acts as a kind of window for us. And I think she's writing some very interesting stuff from a number of standpoints. I also think, as someone involved in teaching managers, that this is a very interesting case to teach with. It's obviously a well-known company, a successful company, and the question often is, how does Tesco do what it does? Well, we're getting some real insights, and practitioners are getting some real insights from the sharp end and in an evolving story.
I think the thing about Michelle, why I think her doing it useful, is she really wants to understand the business. It's not just some kind of theoretical exercise. It doesn't feel like an academic exercise in that sense. She really wants to get in and understand it. And it seems to me that she gets the fact that actually in the end, why business exists is because it creates value for people.
I suppose what I have found surprising in terms of innovation is the way in which the firm are very anticipatory of what's likely to happen. So an analyst put it to me, for example, that this concept, this neighbourhood store concept, this concept of a store for all types of customer, this concept for a store for all types of market, is a very novel and innovative concept. And in some senses, it might be just a little way ahead of the curve in terms of consumers or customers catching up with it. And I think that's what's surprising, really, that a firm like Tesco is so much ahead of the curve. And of course, the question is, will the curve catch up with you at exactly the right moment? My overall concluding statement on this research would be that it's incredibly important in the UK for us to study success and for us to celebrate success and perhaps for us to learn from one of our most successful PLCs.